Imagine a place where the sun is a forgotten myth. 11 kilometers of crushing black water stand between you and the world you know. Down here, in the Hadal zone, the pressure is equivalent to an elephant standing on your thumb, and the silence is absolute. But as our lights pierced the eternal gloom, we realized the silence was a lie. We weren't alone. We were never alone. The 11,000-meter nightmare. What we found at the bottom of the world. To understand the scale of the abyss, one must first forget the comfort of the sun. Imagine standing on the edge of a precipice where the horizon doesn't just end, it collapses. We call it the Pacific, a vast blue mirror reflecting the sky. But beneath that shimmering surface lies a vertical wilderness that defies every law of the world we inhabit. As you begin the descent, the light begins to bleed away. The vibrant teals of the surface fade into a bruised indigo, then a suffocating violet, until finally, at a depth of 1,000 meters, the last photon of sunlight expires. You have entered the midnight zone. But for our journey, this is merely the threshold. This is where the story truly begins. We are headed toward the Hadal zone, a name derived from Hades, the unseen king of the underworld. It is a place of geological scars, trenches that plunge nearly 11 kilometers into the Earth's crust. To reach the bottom of the Mariana Trench is to travel further away from the human experience than a trip to the International Space Station. In space, there is a vacuum, a haunting nothingness. But in the Hadal depths, there is a presence. A physical, visceral weight that wants to crush every cell, every bone, and every piece of technology we dare to send into its maw. The pressure at 11,000 meters is a mathematical nightmare. Imagine the weight of an entire fleet of jumbo jets concentrated onto a single square inch of your skin. Under this tectonic fist, molecules behave differently. Proteins should collapse. Cell membranes should shatter like glass. For decades, the scientific consensus was simple, comfortable, and entirely wrong. Nothing could live here. We looked at the map of the ocean floor and saw a graveyard, a cold, oxygen-poor, lightless void where time itself seemed to have frozen in an eternal, icy grip. We were content with our ignorance, believing that life required the sun, that the biological clock of Earth stopped where the shadows became absolute. But then we went down, using the steel-hulled leviathans of modern engineering, vessels like the Fenduja and the Deep Sea Warrior. We pierced the veil of the deepest trenches. What we found was not a desert, but a sanctuary of the inexplicable. As the floodlights of our submersibles cut through the ancient gloom, the silt of the ocean floor rose like ghosts, revealing a world that should not exist. We found creatures of glass and shadow, snailfish with skin so transparent you can see their internal organs, pulsating with a life force that defies physics. We found microbial ecosystems that don't just survive on the scraps of the world above, but have mastered the art of thriving in the extreme. New data from the MEER Project has shattered our reality. Imagine documenting over 7,000 species of microbes, only to realize that 90% of them are entirely new to science. They are biological orphans, existing in a genomic vacuum, evolving through a process we are only beginning to name convergent adaptation. These organisms have decoded the secret of the pressure. They have turned the nightmare into an advantage, weaving the crushing weight into their very DNA. But as we peel back the layers of this biological mystery, a darker question begins to emerge. If life can flourish in a place so hostile, so detached from the sun, what does that say about our place in the universe? Are we looking at the remnants of Earth's first inhabitants, or the blueprint for life on moons like Europa or Enceladus? The more we learn about the Hadal zone, the more we realize that the nightmare isn't the environment itself. It is the realization of how little we know about the planet we claim to own. The deeper we go, the more the silence speaks. It speaks of ancient shifts in the Earth's crust, of nutrients falling like marine snow through the water column for thousands of years, and of a complex food web that operates with a terrifying, silent efficiency. There is a strange, haunting beauty in this darkness. It is a world where the rules of the surface are meaningless. Here there is no day or night, no seasons, no wind. There is only the rhythm of the trench, a slow-motion dance of survival played out in the crushing black. We invited you here to witness a discovery, but perhaps what we are really doing is witnessing a mirror. When we look into the deepest trenches of the world, we aren't just looking at fish and mud. We are looking at the boundaries of possibility. We are looking at the resilience of the soul of life itself, enduring in a place that God supposedly forgot. But as the cameras roll and the sensors click, as we bring back genomic secrets that challenge the very definition of earthling, one thought remains, cold and persistent as the Hadal water. If this is what we found in the first few flickers of our lights, what else is still waiting in the dark? What ancient, silent masters are watching our submersibles from the edge of the gloom? Wondering why we have finally come to wake them? Prepare yourself. We are descending into the 11,000-meter nightmare, and the truth is far more complex than any fiction. Chapter 1. The Biological Outlaws. Life Beyond the Edge of Reason. To cross the threshold of 6,000 meters is to enter a realm where the laws of the surface world are not just ignored, they are violently discarded. This is the beginning of the Hadal zone, a series of narrow V-shaped gashes in the Earth's crust that represent the final frontier of our planet. As the submersible Fanduje, or the deep-sea warrior, descends into these cracks, the external sensors begin to register numbers that feel like errors in the code of reality. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the pressure reaches a staggering 1,100 atmospheres. To visualize this, imagine the entire weight of the Empire State Building resting on your big toe. In this environment, the very chemistry of life is under siege. Proteins, the building blocks of every living cell, should be compressed into useless tangles. Cell membranes should become as brittle as frozen glass. Yet as our floodlights cut through the eternal silt, we find that life has not only survived, it has declared a revolution. These are the biological outlaws. They are the species that looked at the impossible and decided to call it home. For decades, biology textbooks taught us that the sun was the ultimate engine of existence. Through photosynthesis, the sun fuels the plants, which fuel the grazers, which fuel the predators. But down here, in the 11,000-meter nightmare, the sun is a celestial body from a different universe. The light of the stars cannot penetrate the mile of water above. Instead, the denizens of the deep have built an empire on the marine snow, the constant, ghostly drift of organic detritus, dead plankton, and fecal matter that falls from the surface like a slow-motion blizzard of the dead. This is a scavenged world, a place where every calorie is a miracle and every movement is calculated. The most shocking revelation of the recent MEER Project was the sheer scale of the unknown. When scientists analyzed the microbial life in the sediments of the Mariana Trench, they didn't just find new species. They found an entire branch of the tree of life that had been hidden in the dark. Out of more than 7,500 microbial species documented, nearly 90% were completely new to science. These are the genomic strangers, organisms whose DNA contains sequences that look nothing like the life we know. They are masters of a process we call convergent adaptation. In the crushing dark, different species, from the simplest bacteria to the most complex fish, have independently evolved the same hacks to survive. They have reinforced their cell walls with specialized fats that remain fluid under pressure, and they utilize a chemical called TMAO, trimethylamine N-oxide, to act as a molecular shield, preventing their proteins from collapsing under the weight of the ocean. As we peel back the layers of this silent ecosystem, one begins to realize that the nightmare we perceive is, for them, a perfectly balanced sanctuary. They have turned the crushing weight of the water into a structural necessity. If you were to bring a Hadal snailfish to the surface too quickly, it wouldn't just die. It would literally melt. Their bodies are held together by the very pressure that would kill us. They are biological contradictions, soft-bodied, translucent, and fragile in appearance, yet tougher than any creature on the surface of the earth. Before we descend further into the specific mechanics of these evolutionary marvels, take a moment to consider the vastness of what we are exploring. If you're finding this journey into the abyss as haunting and fascinating as we do, perhaps you belong with us in the dark. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It's a small gesture, but it helps us keep the lights on in these deep dive expeditions and ensures you never miss a discovery from the edge of the world. Now, let us look closer at the most iconic resident of this underworld, the Hadal snailfish. This is not the monster of Hollywood legend. It has no giant teeth, no glowing lures, and no terrifying armor. Instead, it is a ghost, ghostly white, almost transparent, with skin so thin you can see its liver and muscles through its side. It lives at depths where no other vertebrate can exist, nearly 8,000 meters down. To survive here, the snailfish has undergone a radical transformation. Its bones are not made of hard calcium like ours. Instead, they are partially cartilaginous, remaining flexible to avoid snapping under the pressure. It has lost its scales, and its eyes, while present, are often non-functional in the total darkness, replaced by a highly sensitive lateral line system that can detect the faintest vibrations of a passing amphipod. But what truly haunts the researchers is the genetic dark matter found in these creatures. The MEER team discovered that the adaptation strategies aren't just physical, they are written into the very architecture of their genomes. Some of these microbes have streamlined their DNA, stripping away everything that isn't essential for survival in a high-pressure, low-nutrient environment. Others have done the opposite, becoming versatile giants with massive genomes that allow them to eat almost anything that falls from the world above. This duality, the minimalist and the glutton, shows that even in the most extreme conditions, evolution finds multiple paths to the same goal. There is a philosophical weight to these findings that is as heavy as the water above. If life can flourish here, in a place of absolute cold and crushing weight, then our definition of habitable is dangerously narrow.
These biological outlaws suggest that life is not a fragile accident that requires a perfect, sun-drenched garden. Instead, life is a persistent, aggressive force that will find a way to exist in the cracks of the world. It will learn to breathe sulfur. It will learn to build bones of cartilage. It will learn to see without light. The Hadal zone is not the end of life on Earth. It is a testament to its invincibility. As we look at the high-definition footage from the Fenduja, watching a snailfish glide effortlessly over the gray silt of the Mariana Trench, we are forced to confront a chilling truth. We are the outsiders. To the creatures of the 11,000-meter nightmare, the surface world, with its blinding sun, its thin air, and its erratic weather, is the true nightmare. We are the anomalies, living in a thin skin of atmosphere, while the vast majority of our planet's living space belongs to the silent masters of the deep. They are the true owners of the Earth. The ancient survivors who have watched the rise and fall of dinosaurs and empires from the safety of their lightless trenches. And they are only now beginning to reveal their secrets. Chapter 2: The Poison Sanctuary, Man's Shadow in the Hadal Zone. We have long harbored the comforting illusion that the deep ocean is a separate world, a pristine vault locked away by miles of liquid armor. We imagined that at 11,000 meters, the reach of humanity finally faltered, leaving a space where nature could exist in its most primal, unadulterated form. But as the steel claws of our submersibles began to bring back samples from the Yap and Mariana Trenches, that comfort evaporated like mist. We discovered that the abyss is not a fortress, it is a sink. It is the final destination for the ghosts of our industrial past. Even here, in the silent kingdom of the Hadal snailfish, the shadow of man has arrived long before our lights ever did. To understand how we have breached this sanctuary, we must first look at the biological brilliance of those who truly belong there. The Hadal snailfish is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. While our own proteins would warp and fail under the weight of the water, these creatures possess a genetic key known as the RTF1 mutation. This specific genomic shift acts as a molecular stabilizer, a kind of invisible glue that prevents the vital machinery of the cell from being crushed into oblivion. Alongside this, they utilize high concentrations of TMAO, trimethylamine N-oxide, a chemical that acts as a chaperone for proteins, ensuring they maintain their shape when the world above is trying to flatten them. This is the molecular armor of the deep. It is a testament to millions of years of patient, agonizingly slow adaptation. It is a blueprint for immortality in a world of total pressure. But as scientists analyzed the tissues of these evolutionary marvels, they found something that didn't belong. They found PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. These are synthetic chemicals, born in the mid-20th century in factories thousands of miles away, used in everything from electrical transformers to carbonless copy paper. Though banned decades ago, these chemicals are nearly immortal. They do not dissolve in water. Instead, they cling to organic matter, sinking slowly, relentlessly through the layers of the ocean. They fall as part of the marine snow, the same blizzard of detritus that feeds the entire Hadal ecosystem. Think of the irony. The very lifeblood of the trench, the falling nutrients that allow the biological outlaws to exist, is now a delivery system for our poisons. The amphipods, the small, shrimp-like scavengers of the floor, gorge themselves on this toxic snow. Because they are the primary food source for the snailfish, the toxins are not just passed along. They are concentrated, and in the tissues of creatures living in the most remote place on Earth. Researchers have found PCB levels higher than those found in crabs, living near heavily polluted industrial rivers in China or Western Europe. The sanctuary has become a toxic trap. In this moment of realization, one must wonder, is there any corner of this planet left where our touch is not felt? We spend our lives looking upward, fearful of what might fall from the sky, while we ignore the slow, toxic rain we have unleashed upon the depths. If you find yourself haunted by this reflection, if you feel the weight of these silent, hidden truths, perhaps it is time to join our collective vigil. Does the abyss deserve to be protected, or are we merely watching its slow demise? If you believe these stories of the deep must be told, consider signaling your support with a like and subscribing to this channel. Your engagement is the light that allows us to keep exploring these dark corners, ensuring that the 11,000-meter nightmare is never forgotten. The tragedy of the poisoned sanctuary is further complicated by the microbial world we are only now beginning to map. The MEER Project's discovery of over 7,500 new species revealed a microbial frontier that is currently engaged in a silent war with our chemical legacy. Some of these microbes are versatile strategists. They have evolved massive genomes that allow them to process a wide variety of carbon sources, potentially even attempting to break down the complex synthetic chains we have introduced into their world. Others are streamlined specialists, stripped down to the bare essentials of survival, unable to cope with the sudden chemical shift of their environment. When we look at the genomic data of these Hadal residents, we see a disturbing convergence. Evolution has spent eons perfecting the RTF1 gene and the TMAO stabilization to allow life to conquer pressure. But evolution was never prepared for the laboratory-born stability of PCBs. We have introduced a variable into the equation that the deep sea cannot solve. The snailfish may have the molecular armor to survive the weight of the Pacific, but it has no defense against the invisible ink of human industry. There is a profound, almost poetic cruelty in this discovery. We send the Fendugid down with cameras and sensors to find new life, only to find that our old mistakes are already there, waiting for us in the mud. We are documenting the biology of a world that we are simultaneously dismantling. The high-definition footage of a snailfish gliding over the trench floor is no longer just a window into a hidden realm. It is a piece of evidence. It is a recording of a survivor living in a poisoned paradise. The Hadal zone was supposed to be the end of our world. It was supposed to be the place where the human story stopped and the story of the earth began. Instead, we have found that the two stories are inextricably linked. The deep-sea nightmare is not just the crushing pressure or the eternal dark. The nightmare is the realization that we are a global species, not because of our wisdom, but because of our waste. We have reached the bottom of the world, and we have found our own reflection staring back at us from the eyes of a creature that should have been beyond our reach. Chapter 3: The Convergent Ghost. The universal language of survival. In the vast, silent corridors of the Hadal zone, there is a ghost haunting the machinery of evolution. It is not a spirit of the dead, but a pattern, a recurring silhouette that appears again and again in the genetic code of the most disparate organisms. Scientists call it convergent adaptation. But in the crushing dark of the Mariana Trench, it feels like something more profound. It feels like a universal language. It is the realization that at the very edge of existence, nature stops experimenting. When the pressure reaches 11,000 meters, there is only one way to survive, and every living thing, from the microscopic single-celled archaea to the complex translucent snailfish, must learn to speak the same biological tongue. This is the central mystery uncovered by the MEER Project. When researchers analyzed the metagenomic data from the trench sediments, they didn't just find a collection of random mutations. They found a symphony of convergence. Imagine two builders separated by continents and centuries, who have never met, yet they build the exact same cathedral, stone for stone, because the laws of gravity allow for no other shape. This is what is happening in the abyss. The crushing weight of the water acts as a ruthless editor, striking out every genetic variation that is not perfect. What remains is the convergent ghost, a set of specialized traits that have evolved independently in entirely different branches of the tree of life. At the heart of this shared language are the molecular stabilizers. We have spoken of the RTF1 mutation and the chemical shield of TMAO, but to see them through the lens of convergence is to see the true genius of the deep. In the Hadal snailfish, the RTF1 gene has been modified to prevent the skeletal structure and cellular integrity from shattering. But as we look deeper into the microbial life, those 7,000 new species discovered in the silt, we find the same echoes. These microbes, which have not shared a common ancestor with a vertebrate fish for billions of years, utilize similar metabolic pathways to maintain their internal pressure. They have reached the same conclusion through entirely different paths. They have mastered the art of piezophily, the love of pressure, using the weight of the world not as a burden, but as a structural component of their existence. The implications of this are staggering. If evolution is forced into the same narrow corridors whenever it encounters extreme pressure and darkness, then the nightmare of the deep sea is actually a laboratory for the entire universe. We are not just looking at the bottom of the Pacific. We are looking at the blueprint for life on the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn. On Europa and Enceladus, beneath kilometers of ice, lie vast, dark oceans kept liquid by tidal heating. The conditions there are almost identical to the Hadal zone. If the Convergent ghost exists here on Earth, it almost certainly exists there. The universal language of survival is not unique to our planet. It is a law of physics written in the grammar of DNA. As we stand on the precipice of these revelations, one cannot help but feel a sense of profound insignificance. We are witnesses to a process that has been refining itself in the dark for eons, long before the first creature crawled onto dry land. In this absolute silence, where the only sound is the rhythmic pulse of a world we barely understand, do you feel the weight of the unknown pressing against you? If this exploration into the final frontier of our planet has stirred something within you, a curiosity that demands more than just surface-level answers, then perhaps you are one of us. To ensure you stay with us as we descend further into the mysteries of the cosmos and the abyss, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It is your support that allows us to pierce the gloom and bring these silent stories to the light. The language of the deep is also a language of trade. The food web of the trench is a masterpiece of efficiency, a continuum of symbiosis where nothing is wasted. The versatile microbes at the bottom of the trench act as the ultimate recyclers, turning the chemical breath of the earth, methane and sulfur, into organic matter. They are the primary producers in a world without sun. This energy is then concentrated as it moves up the chain, from the microbes to the swarms of amphipods, and finally to the snailfish. This is not just a food chain. It is a biological circuit. Each level has adapted to the specific energy demands of the abyss. The amphipods have developed specialized guts to break down the complex polymers of the marine snow, while the snailfish has streamlined its metabolism to survive on infrequent, high-calorie meals. But what is most haunting about this convergence is the streamlined strategy found in the newest microbial discoveries. Many of these organisms have shed the excess baggage of their surface-dwelling cousins. They have discarded genes for light sensing, for complex heat shock responses, and for various metabolic luxuries. They have become biological ghosts, minimalist entities that possess only what is strictly necessary for the 11,000-meter nightmare. They are the ultimate specialists. This streamlining is the final word in the language of survival. It is the realization that in the most extreme environments, complexity is a liability. Perfection is found not when there is nothing left to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. When we look at the high-definition eyes of a snailfish, eyes that have evolved to be functional in a place where there is no light to see. We are seeing the persistence of the ghost. Why does nature keep the machinery for sight in a world of total darkness? Perhaps because evolution is slow to let go of its history, or perhaps because there are flickers of bioluminescence, biological sparks in the dark, that we have yet to fully document. Every adaptation we find is a clue, a fragment of a larger sentence in a story that began 4 billion years ago. The Convergent ghost tells us that life is not a series of accidents, but a series of inevitabilities. It tells us that the deep sea is not a hostile void, but a masterclass in resilience. As we bring the Fendouge back to the surface, carrying its precious cargo of genomic secrets, we are bringing back more than just data. We are bringing back a new understanding of what it means to be alive. We have found that in the deepest, darkest, and most pressured corner of our world, life speaks with a single voice. It is a voice that says, "I am here, I have endured, and I will find a way." The 11,000-meter nightmare is not a place of death. It is the place where life proved it could never be defeated. It is the ultimate sanctuary of the ghost, the silent architect of everything we are and everything we might one day become among the stars. Chapter 4: The Unobserved God, Life That Doesn't Need a Witness. There is a profound, almost terrifying arrogance in the human psyche. The belief that for something to truly exist, for it to have meaning, it must be witnessed. We have spent centuries cataloging the stars, naming the peaks of mountains, and mapping the veins of the continents, all under the assumption that the Earth is a stage, and we are its sole audience. But as we descend those final crushing kilometers into the Hadal zone, into the heart of the 11,000-meter nightmare, that illusion is shattered by a silence so heavy it feels like a physical weight. Here, in the deepest scars of the planet, life has been flourishing for millions of years in total, absolute isolation. It is a biological empire that does not know we exist, does not care for our names, and thrives in a darkness where our presence is nothing more than a fleeting, artificial spark. This is the unobserved God, a version of life that is its own purpose, its own witness, and its own creator. When the submersible Fendouge touched the floor of the Mariana Trench, the cameras captured images of a world that felt like an ending. Gray, featureless silt, occasional outcrops of rock, and the slow, ghostly movement of amphipods. Yet the genomic data brought back by the MEER Project tells a different story, a story of a world that is just beginning to be understood. The discovery of over 7,500 species of microbes, 90% of which have never been seen by human eyes, is a direct challenge to our understanding of dominance. We call ourselves the masters of the earth, yet we occupy only a thin, atmospheric skin of the planet. The vast majority of the Earth's living space is down here, in the cold and the dark, occupied by organisms that have mastered the art of survival while we were still learning to walk upright. These microbes, these taxonomic novelties, are the true sovereigns. They have survived mass extinctions, asteroid impacts, and the shifting of continents, all without ever seeing the sun. As you look at these images of a world so alien, so detached from everything you know, do you feel the pull of the abyss? Do you feel the strange, quiet comfort in knowing that there are still secrets this deep, still mysteries that refuse to be solved? If you are one of those who seeks the truth in the shadows, who finds beauty in the inexplicable, then perhaps your journey shouldn't end here. By liking this video and subscribing to this channel, you aren't just supporting a creator. You are joining a collective of watchers, those who refuse to look away from the dark. If we are to be the witnesses to this unobserved world, let us do so with the respect and curiosity it deserves. The unobserved God, manifest in the deep sea, is not a singular entity, but a collective resilience. It is seen in the versatile microbes that have evolved massive genomes to scavenge the chemical breath of the earth. It is seen in the RTF1 mutation of the snailfish, a genetic armor that allows a vertebrate to exist at pressures that would turn steel into a crumpled can. But more than the biology, it is the time that haunts the mind. The Hadal zone operates on a scale that renders human history irrelevant. The currents that move the marine snow down the trench walls have been flowing since before the first empire rose. The evolution of the Convergent ghost didn't happen over centuries, but over epochs of silent, patient pressure. We must confront the chilling reality that our discovery of these zones is often synonymous with their desecration. As we noted in our earlier exploration, our chemical toxins, PCBs, and microplastics have reached the bottom of the world before our best scientists did. We have become the witness that brings only corruption. We look at the Hadal snailfish and call it a nightmare. But perhaps we are the nightmare. We are the noisy, polluting intruders in a sanctuary of ancient silence. The snailfish doesn't need our light. It has its lateral lines to feel the vibrations of the water. It doesn't need our air. It has its specialized membranes. It is a perfect machine of survival, living a life of total integrity in a place where we can only survive inside a steel tomb. What does it mean for a creature to live its entire life, from birth to death, in a place where no light ever falls? It means that beauty is not a visual concept in the abyss. Beauty is the efficiency of a metabolic pathway. Beauty is the strength of a protein bond. Beauty is the ability to turn the crushing weight of 11 kilometers of water into a supportive embrace. The unobserved God is a reminder that the universe is not designed for us. It is a vast, indifferent laboratory where life experiments with every possible extreme. We are a side effect of a sun-drenched world, while the Hadal zone is the baseline of planetary endurance. In the end, the 11,000-meter nightmare is a lesson in humility. It teaches us that life is not a gift given to the surface. It is a fundamental property of the Earth itself, capable of manifesting in the most hostile cracks of the crust. When we eventually turn off the lights of our submersibles and return to the air and the sun, the trench will remain. The snailfish will continue to glide over the gray silt. The microbes will continue their chemical alchemy. The unobserved God will continue to exist, indifferent to our absence, a silent testament to the fact that life does not need a witness to be magnificent. As we leave the abyss and ascend back to the world we think we know, we carry with us a fragment of a terrifying truth. We are not the protagonists of this planet's story. We are merely the latest, loudest chapter in a book that was written in the dark, and whose most important pages are still hidden 11,000 meters below the waves. The lights of our submersibles are fading now, as we begin the long, slow ascent back to the world of sun and air. Behind us, the Mariana Trench returns to its natural state, an eternal, crushing silence where time is measured in eons rather than minutes. We leave behind a realm of biological outlaws and unobserved gods, but we carry back something far heavier than the water above: the burden of knowledge. We now know that even at the very edge of the world, life is persistent, resilient, and hauntingly beautiful. But we also know that our shadow reaches further than we ever imagined. If this journey into the 11,000-meter nightmare has left a mark on you, if it has challenged your perception of what it means to be a resident of this planet, then perhaps this is only the beginning of our exploration together. To ensure that our floodlights continue to pierce the gloom of the unknown, I invite you to become a permanent part of this expedition. A simple click on the like button and a subscription to this channel are the signals we need to keep moving forward, deeper into the mysteries that define our existence. For those who feel a deeper connection to these stories and wish to support the immense research and craftsmanship that goes into every frame, the thanks button below offers a direct way to fuel our future descents. Every contribution is a testament to the fact that curiosity is a shared human endeavor. Furthermore, if you represent a brand or a vision that aligns with the depth and integrity of this channel, or if you wish to discuss potential collaborations and advertisements, please reach out to me directly via private message. Let us build something that, much like the Hadal snailfish, is designed to withstand the pressures of time and leave a lasting legacy. As the surface tension finally breaks and the first rays of the sun hit the hull, remember the silence we left behind. The abyss doesn't ask to be understood, and it certainly doesn't ask for a witness. It simply waits, indifferent to our stories, holding the secrets of the dawn of time in its cold, dark hands. We are merely guests in a house that was built long before us, and which will stand long after we are gone. Thank you for descending with me. Until our next deep dive into the dark, keep looking beyond the surface. The truth is always deeper than you think.